Do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, howdy, folks. Hope you're doing all right and you've had a decent sort of a day. Today, we're going to talk with one of the friends of the show that we've had on before, and we get a lot of requests about to get back on. And that is because she does tend to breathe a breath of fresh air into the lungs of those of us that may be finding life a little stale at times. I've known this lady for 30 years, maybe closer. And I can tell you that she had the exceptionally good sense to get out of radio and go and do something worthwhile with her bloody life. So will you welcome back to the program the lovely Malibu Bert. How are you, darling?
Very well indeed. Thank you. Thanks for having me back on the show again. It's always a pleasure, Carl. Is it 30 years? Let's talk about the years. Is it 19? Pretty sure it was December 1991. I met you walking to that studio at 4CC in Gladstone.
That'd be it.
You were the big guy behind the production desk. I was really intimidated by you, but and I was the one starting off with the copy ads. And I was scared of you. If you got the ads yet?
Yes, I'm not proud of my time there.
Okay, well, let's just move away from there then.
For people who've heard me talk about my life in radio and how I wasn't a very nice person, Malibu is probably a great example of the kind of person that I, for the want of a better term, chased out of the industry. I made life very difficult for her, and I'm eternally grateful that she'll even speak to me today. So, yeah.
That's okay. No, it was fine. I remember on my last day, I'd only been there 4 months because I got a gig in Canberra, and I remember my last day, I finished all the ads by 3:00, which was unheard of. Usually we're still 6, and you said, "And you're leaving?"
Yep, you finally got it right. Bearing in mind, back in those days, I was doing stuff in a breakfast show, so I was out of bed in the brekkie show at 5:00 in the morning, and then I was doing, I think, a morning show at the time, 9 till 1, and then I was doing production from 1 till whenever that finished, and that meant that I had to make the ads as well, and in most cases read a lot of them too.
Yep.
And, of course, all that had to work on a very fine timing scale if I was going to get home and see my wife and my daughter and not have an argument with her about how long I'm spending at work. So, Malibu was a very, very creative writer. It just took her a long time to type. I think that's the easiest way to say it.
I couldn't understand how to open a computer. I could not get my head around it. I could not understand the mechanics of the operating system. Just turning it on, touch and go back then.
And people don't understand that in 1991, we were at the cutting edge of computers.
Yeah.
They were the latest and greatest thing. If you had a computer at home, it was an Amstrad or it was a Commodore 64 or something like that. We were running a radio station. Its whole weather system was run off a Commodore 64 computer. We also had another wonderful electronic device. Do you remember Fred?
Fred! I was just thinking about Fred, but we won't use the acronym because it's not very polite.
Oh, we can. Fred, an absolutely stunning and wonderful machine. The ridiculous electronic device is what it stood for, Fred.
It was huge.
Yep, automatic play-out machine. It had like 24 reel-to-reel tape decks in it and a carousel that held cartridges. For those of us of a certain age will remember 8-track carts. Radio stations played ads off carts, and this thing had carousels of carts that you would load with the ads every night, dutifully, to make sure that the ads got played out. And then I'd come in the morning, and depending on whether it was Fred 1 or Fred 2, because we were lucky we had 2 ridiculous electronic devices there at one stage, I'd come in the morning and find that all the carts had been played quite happily, but delivered back to the floor rather than back into their carousel holds and all that kind of thing. It was a shit time.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was, except we did tend to chew up a few people on the way through, for which I am eternally sorry. So
Never mind. That's okay. This isn't a confessional. Is it like taxi cab confession suddenly, is it?
Oh, God, no. If we're going to get to that, you and I could tell some real stories. But
we are going to move away from that. Whoop, nothing to see here.
moving on.
We are both the consummate professionals.
Indeed. And let's get into that. So we get a lot of reaction every time you come on the show. People get a lot out of what you're saying. And today we're going to talk about, I guess, the engineering of our society at the moment and how we are being engineered through media, through print media, through interactions with other people, and even indeed shows like this. There are plenty of them all over the internet. So it's going to be an interesting bit of a dig today, I think.
Well, I think it is, because once you see it, it's like anything. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you find yourself, your consciousness, your worldview suddenly changes. And we might offer some form of advice today. So, for example, my overarching statement for you today is that the media, the environment, the world, the current environment with which we live wants to steal your mental health, your mental health well-being. Now, that sounds ridiculous because we've got all these health officials, World Health Organization. We're not even going to go there about what we feel and what we represent. But the truth of the matter is, once you really see it, you need to step away from it. And in terms of mental health, and from my perspective, working as a therapist, one of the biggest things that I get from people is, with all of this stuff going on, how do I be happy if I know this is happening and there's more coming? The sustainable goals are on the way, the Agenda 2030, they're doing this and there. See how it's all out there, everything is happening. And that's a really good question. How do you find yourself feeling okay, knowing that that's all right? How do you plan for the future if you think it's doomed? Why get out of bed if you know the day is going to be bad? Well, the truth is, we do have choices, but it doesn't look like it. So as an example, if you want to feel good today, let's use today as an example. Today, what's the date? The 23rd of May. Let's wake up today and let's have a great day. Let's turn on the news, shall we? So I've been to the gym this morning, and I've already seen on Channel 9, because they run the TV. I don't watch TV at home, but I've already seen on the TV at the gym that people have crashed and died, that there's been violence and there's been death. So I just look down at my running machine, and I don't engage with any of that. So let's go to our computer and let's go to news.com.au. Now, when we want to feel well, when we want our emotional equilibrium, our balance to feel great, we want to see stories that are uplifting, that help keep us in that good mental state. So let's have a look at the headlines. And this is ongoing, but let's just choose today. So the headlines here, you can see: respectful, shock support for AFL rapist who lured 14-year-old girl. That's your top story. Significant decline, signs housing is cooked. So there's a 10% drop. We better start worrying about that. Can you scroll down?
Yeah.
So shocking. Tragic death of Star's son. Keep going. Star axed from
terrifying truth of $1.3 billion industry can't ignore. Chilling CCTV before boys 5 and 3 abandoned.
Correct.
Young woman,
Tragic
baby
events.
dead in highway crash.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not only that, I've written to news.com.au several times, and it's really hard to contact them. They deliberately skew their format. So if you send them an email with a complaint, it has to fit the criteria like AI. You can't say, I'm disgusted at your low moral standards, because that's not even there. So you have to actually write that to them. They run animated GIFs or visual GIFs constantly of people being beaten up, of the police being attacked. The most recent one last week was of an American tourist in Hawaii that threw a giant rock at a seal. They ran that over and over. So as soon as you went to the webpage, that's all you saw. I got PTSD from that. I found that traumatizing, that a wealthy guy from Washington, could fling a giant rock to intentionally harm a beautiful seal sailing by. And his argument was, I've got plenty of money. I don't care. Find me.
Yeah.
And they ran that story twice. Now, we see these images. These images are not designed to make you feel better. They are there to take away your energy and vibration. Now, this buys into our first session where we talked about energy and vibration, because we are all energetic fields. We are vibrational frequencies inside a biomechanical suit. That's the reality. And when you feel down, that means your vibration is low vibration, which means when it's low, that 3D density where everything is compressed, you can only see more of the same. It's a bit like being stuck in a tiny room, Carl. Imagine you live in a 500-room mansion with stunning views and beautiful kitchen, and it's superbly appointed. It's amazing, but you live in the basement in the dark. That's all. That's your reality, because that's all you see. It's dark. So you if you don't go out and experience all the joys of the views and the amenities in the house, you're only going to experience where you are. So the frequency where you are keeps you low. All of those headlines keep you down because they're about death, murder, deception, worry. They're all coming from a place of lack. So if you're already a bit down, let's say your girlfriend's left you, or you could lose your job. Places like that love to say job cuts. There could be all of these, restructuring going on. Will AI steal your job? See what I mean? If you're not having a nervous breakdown before you've had your morning coffee, good luck, because there's so much being thrown at you constantly.
Isn't it incumbent upon all of us, though, to emotionally protect ourselves against this kind of attack? Or has that skill been taken from us as well?
Well, I think it has, because suddenly we're being fed a steady diet of it. So you've raised a really good point. This now is normal. It's normal. We're not talking about something. We're not talking about, say, a 9/11, which was an out of the box disaster. We're talking about normal. See how many headlines were just normalizing the death, the destruction, the fear, false evidence appearing real. So it's designed to make you go low. And when you feel low, then your immune function starts to suffer. You your antibodies start creating antibodies because your body's going into almost like a bit of a shutdown. And so your mental health, when we talk about mental health, really we're leaving out the biology of the body, because everything is holistic. Everything is entwined. So as soon as you're on a steady visual diet of that kind of diatribe, that's already bringing you down. Now, we're not even going to go there with the chemicals and all the foods and all the additives and all the colorants and everything and all the carcinogens and the GMOs. Let's just leave all that out of it, because we as an individual have a choice. We can recognize that this is part of the enemy plan to bring you down. Now, you might go, okay, I'll turn off the news and I'll go to all my streaming services. Surely it's better there, isn't it? Is it?
Not so much.
Go to your Stan, your Netflix, your Disney channels. It's about deceit, cheating, lying, serial killers, people of notoriety that have done bad things. It's all about that, and it's all designed to steal your emotional well-being. I get in my car and it starts going bing, 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 bing at me because I haven't put my seatbelt on. Already I'm annoyed. Already I'm angry.
I was just going to bring up Netflix and scroll through that and show you some of the headlines there. But it's playing all sorts of it's playing all sorts of copyrighted stuff when I scroll it through, so I won't do that. But
Oh, all right.
but yes,
But
any streaming service you care to choose, go and have a look at the schlock that is being made and put forward to us these days. And it is being made, and this is the thing I've noticed about the streaming services in particular. While we've got more choice of things to watch than we've ever had before, the quality of what we are watching is far lower. And that's not just in acting quality, it's in the messaging quality too, that these shows, whether they be a serialized thing or a movie, are trying to put across. There doesn't seem to be the depth of, the movies of old that you and I might remember as favorites from when we grew up. There is none of that anymore. This is all very made to be consumed, digested, and you either take the fear on that is generated from watching it, or in my case, it's very easy to just draw a line and dismiss it and move on to whatever might be next. I've got to admit, I don't watch a lot of movies or stuff that's produced for these streamers for that reason, because there is no quality programming. There is no quality storytelling, although that is changing because there are now some, I hesitate to say religiously slanted, but there are some stories being told now that have more biblical references to them and more biblical content to them than ever before in my life. And I'm seeing more and more of those now being populated into those streaming services, the likes of the Primes and the Netflix. So somebody on the other side is trying to put some good messaging out there. And when I say good messaging, I'm not meaning that these are like God-bothering movies that they're making, or this isn't Little House on the Prairie ramped up. But there is much better social messaging being put forward in these movies than you see being produced by, let's say, inverted commas, Hollywood in these days. You don't watch much TV either, but do you think that's a fair assumption?
Yeah, I do. But I think overarchingly these things are skewed as well, insofar as there's always that undercurrent. You can dress things up looking like they might be joyful or have some happiness to it, but there's often a really dark undercurrent with it as well. So it's almost like it's like the two hands. Have a look at this hand. This is happening over here, but wait a minute, what's the other hand doing? Michael Jackson's a really good example of that right now. So they did that. The Jackson Enterprises put this big movie out about Michael Jackson, right? 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, huge thing. Then suddenly 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago ran a giant story about a family who have horror stories about Michael Jackson and how he sexually abused them. So it's like, oh, wow, we've just seen Michael Jackson. Now we're really interested in this story. And then I've seen that Netflix are running a behind the scenes, which starts in June, of the behind the scenes of the court cases of Michael Jackson.
Oh, God.
And then over and above that, I saw, because I accidentally saw the TV screen on Channel 9 this morning when I was at the gym, that they're running such the definitive story. It's like, what are you people doing? It's like, here's some popcorn about Michael Jackson. Isn't he great? Oh, wait a minute. Here's the sinister side to Michael Jackson. Hang on. Here's another side of Michael Jackson. You decide. So we're creating this whole psyop, which also links back to crime and the abuse of others.
Yeah. Now, Michael Jackson's an interesting pick. Okay, the movie has come out. Why has the movie come out at this time? And this gets back into what you were saying at the very start of all this. We're getting a lot of stimuli. And those of us that are open-minded, willing to consider things that maybe others wouldn't in the conspiracy sphere, let's say. Many people have ideas that Michael Jackson isn't in fact dead. He's done an Elvis and has disappeared and will be coming back either on the alien ship or just be reconstituted somewhere down the line. Now, Elvis and Michael Jackson notwithstanding, that similar story has been told about a great many big celebrities in line with the Q arguments. Now, Lady Diana or Princess Diana is probably one of the biggest names supposedly coming back. Why do you think, well, no, there's probably two questions, but let's stick with the theme we're going with. Is this another example of, for the want of a better term, fear porn for the progressive in our society? You know, is this something like you were saying before, we're clinging to these little bits and pieces of information that we've been given over the last 6 to 10 years, and some of us are very, very focused on them. We will not countenance, you know, let's talk about governments and laws and the difference between what is lawful and what is legal. You will find there are so many people who, you know, believe in the common law side of things rather than this constructed law that we're working with under government where we're being controlled. So that's a great delineation line for us to say, all right, is everybody who is on the left side of that line and believes that common law is the way forward, that everything has been taken from us, the straw man is how they do it. And there are people who are living their lives like that, God love them, all day, every day. And then there are those on the other side of that coin who can't think of anything more stupid than having a system run like the common law system that people are putting forward. That is the division at its base in our community. Is that an engineered thing? Is that a
I think it's all, yes, absolutely. I think it's been very, very, very well thought out, very, very well orchestrated. But remember, as a disclaimer, this is just my opinion. This is just what I see and what I'm digesting. And I don't think it's a bit like, you know, women who cooked in the 40s and 50s. They didn't leave a shred of ingredient left over. It went somewhere else. They utilized every tasty morsel they possibly could so that everything was always maximized to its best. And I would say that this is so clever, so well orchestrated. I mean, let's bring it right back to the basics, Carl, of the idea of the red ants and the black ants in the jar. And the red ants and the black ants, as long as you don't upset anyone, they get along really harmoniously. There's no problem with both, all build colonies, everything's fine. But the invisible hand that shakes it up, they start punching each other and kicking the bejesus out of each other. And that is what we are seeing. They're watching us kill each other with all the violence, with all the division. Common law and corporate law is a great example of that. Oh, those swines, we all get mad. You know, our energetic fields go up, we're furious. And that's a state of despair within itself, because anger is a secondary emotion to pain always, because we've been duped. We've been lied to. Oh, let's get them. And you see, so
our society,
attention on that.
Our society has been engineered, and those headlines we pointed out earlier are part of the way that they do this. Our society has been engineered so that we are anxious, so that we are made ready for, you know, bad sorts of situations. And then in the example you've just cited, that would inflame people with those fears already inside them. That would hype them up even further, wouldn't it?
Yes, of course.
So how do we then, well, I guess what I'm saying is we have an emotional argument. Our emotions are being ramped up, toyed with, played with, petted, festered in things every day through our media. And then you mentioned the courts, where we go and we expect some form of justice. However, in a court, there is no emotion. But what does the layperson bring to the court, to their argument? And I'll use Guru Dave Graham as an example. He brings emotion to an argument in court, where a court doesn't see emotion. Now, we the people have been emotionally triggered, and I believe cultured in our society, so that how you feel is so important.
Oh, yes.
You know, and to the detriment of others now, how you feel, you know, how a transvestite feels is more important than how ladies feel about having their privacy intruded upon by a man dressed in woman's clothing. These are fears, and yet you go to a court with a fear, an emotion, and that emotion has no place in a court. That's why people, I believe, come away from courts frustrated, because there is no emotional satisfaction. You are not allowed to, you are triggered emotionally, you are played with emotionally, you are fired off emotionally. But when you get to the place where justice can be, in theory, delivered, no emotion is allowed. And so we have been conditioned differently. So a lot of us lose.
Yep. And so what happens? You go home flat and in despair. And it feels once again hopeless. And look, I just want to add to that argument about rights and about inclusion, which is such a big thing in the last 5 years. When we talk about inclusion of minorities, we're actually completely excluding the majority with that huge focus. But they're so busy supposedly doing the right thing and making sure the minority groups are supported, it's to the exclusion of all else. So the mainstream society gets completely unhinged, while the smaller society gets what you might call their day in the sun. So that's also been deliberately rigged, so that, in my view, so that also heightens, upsets, angers, frustrates. So this is where I hope I can come into it, because people can come with all sorts of issues. The most common is anxiety and depression. It feels hopeless and I'm anxious. Yep. So how do you manage that? Well, the first things that you've got to do is be aware of what it is. Notice
the triggers.
The triggers. TV, choose your audience. I'm not telling you to turn your TV off. I'm telling you to think wisely. Start asking yourself questions. Does this program align with my values? Do you even know what your values are? Go and Google them. Go and find your top 10. And then start to know thyself, because when you know you, and you really understand who you are and what resonates deeply with you, that can create almost an impervious barrier to outside. So, for example, I cannot stand news.com.au. I'll tell the world that I can't stand them. Therefore, I choose not to engage with them. I already know what they're doing. I don't need to see anymore. But here's the thing. It's like sugar. It's an addiction. You want to know. They understand that there's that little intrinsic human element that can't turn away when they see a car crash. So they capitalize on that. It's like, oh, I feel like I'm missing out. No, you're not. What do you want to choose? Know thyself, know your values, go back to that and turn it off.
This is something I have to exercise on a daily basis, right? So
it's daily work.
Yeah. I open myself up to it because I go to sites like news.com.au to try and find what bullshit they're spinning this day. But I go to heaps of those different sorts of sites and try and get as many different perspectives and ideas on these things as I can. But I find entirely every time that the information they are giving is seeded to their favor. It is not to the benefit of the people or to me personally. And what I might do is go through and look at all the headlines, and I'll right click and open in a new tab each of these stories that I feel might have some value down the track. And then during the course of the day, I'll go through those tabs and read the stories. And increasingly, I find that the story is what generates an emotional or elicits an emotional reaction that is, I will read this story or I won't read this story. Where I'm finding it interesting is sometimes the time difference between me clicking on the story and saying I will read that later and me actually getting to read it might be 8 hours. And in that 8 hours, my life has changed a lot. And that headline doesn't mean as much to me anymore.
Ooh, interesting.
Right?
Why
the perspective
might that be?
of that? Well, I think it's because I'm primed in the morning to get as much information on as many different subjects as I can. And then through the course of the day, I will filter that down to what is useful, what isn't useful, what is entertaining to me, what isn't entertaining to me. But I find increasingly, particularly if I've had a long gap between when I first opened those tabs and then I go back to read them, that I'll close the tab down before I've finished the first paragraph, because I've realized this is just a story that's designed to get me an emotional click, or sorry, to get them an emotional click. So their job is done. The moment I open that story in another tab, they've gone, yip, yeah, we'll count that. The fact that I've never read it or beyond the first few lines doesn't matter. But the emotional reaction is what they count on. And then if you're not like me and you don't wait 8 hours after you've opened the page up to read it, if you open it and read it, you are reinforcing the trigger. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yep, absolutely.
You're generating your own trauma.
You're generating your own trauma. And very interesting, I love how you said that, you know, 8 hours later, I didn't want to look at it anymore. You know why? Because the moment's gone. When we say emotion, and you brought that up about the courts, emotion is energy in motion. I'm emotional about this now. I'm all fired up now. 10 minutes after you and I stop talking, I'll be like, oh, I feel quite calm now. But right now I'm like, right, let's get into it. So we're always moving and shifting our energetic fields, and our consciousness, where I'm thinking about right now and where you're thinking about right now, is directing that energetic field. So if you're consuming this fear porn, which is what it is, and terror and murder and low vibrational stuff, as you might as well take the express elevator down to the basement, because that's where you're going. And I consciously choose to take the express elevator up to the penthouse suite where the views are sweeping. Thank you very much. So I will find things that are in alignment with that. And I also
now you're not likely to find those on news.com.au. Do you go to Facebook? Do you go to Instatwat or Exagram or whatever it is these days? Or do you just go outside and sit in the garden?
Well, the garden is probably part of it. The other one is I go into a meditation. I close my eyes because all of my answers are in here. My higher selves, my higher dimensional selves, and finding that inner peace. Because while you consume all of this outside, you're not going to find it, or it's going to make it a lot harder for you. You're going to have to it's like finding your own nirvana. And this is why the collective consciousness is so important. Why do you think they're doing all of this? Not just to bring you down, you know, as on the individual scale, but to collectively make you all imagine. So look at those headlines about, you know, about a car crash. We're all imagining it. Do you think our imagination is just there just for no reason? I can conjure up pictures and videos from millions and millions of files of my life in a split second. Why? What's it there for? Why am I using it? Why is my imagination so important? Because as a collective, all of us are helping to create our own demise. You'll hear people say, nothing you can do. It's the way of the world. Even famous movies like Muriel's Wedding, you know, one of the protagonists would say, can't stop progress. Oh, yes, we can. It's terminology like that makes it feel like we're T-boned. It's already a done deal. It's never a done deal. I choose for it not to be a done deal. So I really wanted to mention this today with you, that if we could create a platform where we all use our focus, my consciousness, yours, your listeners and your viewers' consciousness, and we all focus on the well-being of either the whole planet or all of Australia or all of Sydney or anything like that, where we can create an energetic field where we are focusing all of our love and healing to help people feel better. Because your consciousness, your imagination, and your focus are your tools, your get out of jail free cards from this dimension of misery, if that makes sense.
So a morning meditation thing could be something we could do in that regard, bringing everybody together at a certain time.
Yes.
And I know that there are certainly members of our family who are very involved in that sort of thing. Maybe that's something we can actually get going and look at doing, and even potentially streaming over on FBN with Vince and crew. I think that's a very powerful thing that we could all be involved in. And even if it is only for maybe 5, 10 or 15 minutes every day, at a set time in the morning where we all come together and we focus on our mission for the day. We give that out. This is what we're going to put our intent into. And
Yes.
intent is another big thing, isn't it?
Oh, yes, intention, very powerful.
Yeah, so you've got to imbibe or imbue intention into what you're saying and doing. This is something that I'm starting to only just learn about, and finding that it truly is the key to being able to bring to life the things that you want in your life. So I'm by no stretch of the imagination a master at it, but I'm learning. And that's all we can all do. If we can come together and we each take half a step a day, in a week, we're going to be 7 steps further up the road than we were when we started. So
100%. 100%. Intention is everything. Your imagination and your focus is everything. And that's why it is so important to choose and to really pay attention to yourself. So to sort of finish up about how people can feel better themselves, notice what's happening in your body. When are you feeling anxious? What are the symptoms of your anxiety? Is it a heart racing, dry mouth? Are you fidgeting? Can you not stop? You're jiggling your foot, all of those things. Help yourself breathe. Come into the moment. I really need to find a way to relax. There's a really great website, and I give a lot of these sound files to my clients. It's called Sacred Acoustics, and it's audio files designed by a neurosurgeon by the name of Ibn Alexander. He had quite a bit of notoriety in 2012. He wrote a book about Proof of Heaven. When he went through, he had an inflammatory brain injury, and he was in a coma. And very, very prominent man, very well-known man. And he's helped to create these audio files, which are binaural beats and theta and beta waves that are deeply calming, deeply relaxing for troubled minds, for people with ADHD and autism spectrum disorder 1 and 2. They can't shut it off. They're just so hyper vigilant, very soothing. So there are ways that you can find places to really help calm you. Now, in this moment, so right now it's 9:59 a.m. 9:59 a.m. is where all your power exists, Carl, all of it. You don't have any power 5 minutes ago, it's gone. You don't have any power 5 minutes from now, it hasn't happened yet. Your collective consciousness right now can depict how you are, and you can choose in any given moment. So, for example, thinking about your consciousness, your thoughts, what can I create? Because we are creators. So people say, well, I'm struggling for money right now. I'm going to lose my bond. I'm going to be the house prices are too high. I can't rent anymore. So what can I do? What can I do? It comes always back to what can I do for me? So then you start looking for your tribe. You might start looking in the local papers for someone who rents a room, that you could go and stay there for 4 months, find connections with people, always thinking, what do I need in this moment? Becoming the driver of your own bus and not merely a passenger. So you're always looking for it. So you're paying attention to you in this moment. 10 minutes from now, no power at all. So that it's a real focus. And the meditation that we're talking about really helps to drive that home as well. I hope all that makes sense.
It does. Well, it does to me, at least. And that surprises me more than anything else. How do we give people the skills? We're all at various different stages in how we can protect or learn and protect ourselves or learn new skills, I guess. There are those people I've met in this community that are a bit like sponges and will absorb everything that comes their way, be that good or bad. How do we, I guess some of those people have a discernment lesson they've still got to learn, but how is there a way that we can actively, when we catch ourselves falling into the negative side of the news, let's say, is there a tool that we can use to block that fall and recognize that it's happening and turn ourselves around?
Absolutely. Your awareness. that you know that you're doing it. So we've actually been conditioned in many ways just to be on automatic pilot. You know, la 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 la. How you going? I don't know. Good, I suppose. Because we're not connecting with ourselves. We're not connecting with our somatic responses. What's happening in the body? I do a lot of grounding techniques with people. We start from the head and we work our way through the body. Close your eyes, close your mouth. You're just breathing normally. Then relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, go down to your feet. Your feet are bare, connecting with the ground, curl your toes under, connect with the electromagnetic field of the floor. This is what really puts you in touch with your body. People will say, oh, I'll say to people, what was that like for you after this? They'll say, oh, I didn't realize that I was clenching my jaw so much, or that my thoughts kept wandering. So it's teaching you to see, this fear porn has got you so focused on the external, you don't even know what's happening. So when you ask questions like, how do you know? Well, it should be a no-brainer, but it's not, because we're so distracted by the BS. In here, your body will show you, hey, I'm really anxious. So we drink energy drinks, or we start looking at more fear porn, or we start doing something else to distract us away from the suffering that's going on inside. I tell you, sit with it. Take your shoes off. Go outside. Ground your feet to the earth. Close your eyes. Breathe in a pure positive energy. This is a really good energetic shift that we could finish today with, for example. So you breathe in through the nose for a count of 3, but you visualize. Remember your imagination again. You visualize a pure positive energy. So you breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, 4, and then you slowly exhale, imagining the old stagnant negative energy. So it's a and you keep pushing until your belly button rises. So it's like a metaphorical clean sweep of your energy. In with the pure positive energy, out with the negative energy, connecting with yourself. Now you can't expect people to start doing this amazingly straight off the bat. It's a learned experience. Take your time. Give yourself a couple of minutes today. Check in with yourself. The most powerful question you can say to yourself is, how am I right now? Yeah. And if you don't know, think about it. Actually, I feel a bit sick. Where do I feel sick? What's happening in my body? Connect with self. That's a good start. Good baby step.
I think most Australians don't do that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know most Australians, but it's certainly not something that's ever been part of my life, not something I've ever connected with. How do I feel? To be inward, introspective enough to actually self-examine myself was not something I was able to do until maybe 10 or 15 years ago, when I first tried it for the first time, sadly. And it changed my life when I was able to actually look into myself and discover that I wasn't this, wonderful human being that I thought I was. I discovered quite a lot of dark and evil shit in me that, I discovered I wasn't proud of. Once I used to live my life and wear it as a badge of honor. I loved being able to scare the shit out of people. Now,
that's a version of you that you were really attracted to at the time. Because we have multiple versions of ourselves, Carl. There's the version of you that's the broadcaster. There's the version of you that's the father. There's the version of you that's the helper, provider. We wear 1,000 hats, 1,000 hats. To say you're just any one thing would be nonsense. Recognize versions of you. Absolutely. There's the fun-loving you, the very serious side of you, the pensive, I'm not sure what's going on you. There's great to have versions of introversion and extroversion, knowing
but
when
we need to be self-aware enough to do that, don't we? We need to be self-aware enough to, and I guess honest enough. That was the big thing. I wasn't being honest, forget with anybody else. I wasn't being honest with myself. I was telling myself my lies and believing them.
Yes.
And that was by far the most well, I suppose at the time powerful, but also the most self-destructive thing I could be doing.
Mm. Well, in so many ways, we're inauthentic. You even look at the language that we use that's commonplace. How you going? Great. How are you? Good. How's the kids? Fine. How's the wife? Fine. Okay, see you later. Bye. What was said? Nothing at all.
Nothing. Yep.
It's just a script. We've all been indoctrinated with the script. So this falsehood naturally transcends into, well, I can start being anything I like. I mean, you've got keyboard warriors that are pretending to be other things. It's another version of themselves. And looking at ourselves and our own foibles, it's not easy. Nobody goes to their wardrobe and says, oh, I think I want to be vulnerable today. Where's my vulnerable jacket? I'm going to put it on. We want to go, hey, I'm invincible. I own the world. No, you don't. We all have bad days. We all feel sad. We all question things. It's okay. It's actually normal, but that's not normalized. We have to pretend to be, not only do we subjected to all of these awful stresses of tragedies, but we're also forced to pretend and keep up with the Joneses and have this and be this. And, remember the old ads, even the old ads used to say, make your neighbors jealous, get your new bathroom.
Exactly.
What a load of bunk.
Exactly. I remember doing TV ads back in the 90s for cladding on houses, and one of the ads that we did was the neighbours looking at the cladding going up on the next door neighbour's house, and it was told from the perspective of, oh, geez, I wish I could have that. Well, you can. It's not that expensive, But it was all about envying your neighbour, going against one of the 10 commandments. Advertising very good at going against the 10 commandments, I can tell you. So do not. Advertising is very good at subtly breaching those guidelines, shall we say.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're not good enough. That's what people learn. That's the biggest thing that I hear from my client base is that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. We've all experienced it to some degree. And so all of these seeds of doubt. So we create a persona, like what you were saying before, but I don't feel worthy, so I want to be an asshole. That gives me, I feel powerful because I've affected A, B, and C by my attitude, by my energy. So therefore, even though it might not be the right way, I'm still getting a reaction. I'm still creating something in a way that's not okay. And that's a really good point I wanted to bring up too. I discovered the other day that reaction, think of the word react. Take the C out and put it in the front of the R and change it to create. Because when we react, we're already reacting to a given, to a set of data that's already is. But do we have to accept that set of data? No, we do not. I would sooner create my own. What does my own look like? See, suddenly the power is coming back to me, to self. So it becomes a journey.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. I love these conversations. I learn so much, which is such a stark opposition to our first time together in the 90s.
Are you bullying me, Carl?
No, God, far from it, because I know these days you fight back and I'm scared. So, all right, just before we go, I've found this to be a terribly interesting conversation, and many folks who watch the show have reported to me. I know a couple have sent you emails, but I've had a lot of reaction to our conversations, and we're going to keep this going. There are ways, there are techniques, there are actions you can take that will help, not protect you. We can't be offering a protectionist thing here. People, I believe, going forward in this new world that we are creating, you have to walk forward into it and embrace it. You can't be protected from it. The stimuli that you are going to get is what you will either gravitate to or be pushed away from, and this will help define you. Is that a fair assumption on my point?
Well, I prefer to look at it from an absolute choice perspective, to know what it is you want to look. It's okay to, know some of the information. That's okay. Be okay with some of it and not the rest of it. If you get enough information, you go, yeah, I know about that now. I choose not to engage. That's still putting you in the driver's seat. It's about the discernment, not only about what your body and your own well-being, but what you are choosing to to fill your day with. So yes, so the short answer is yes, that's part of it. Being consciously aware, your awareness is everything. If I don't know what's going on with the world, or you don't know what's going, hang up now. We can't do anything. You don't know about it.
Yeah.
We can only do with what we know about. And one of the keys to real well-being is to know yourself, to choose wisely. How is this affecting me? I noticed that I felt really down. Why did I feel down? What was I exposed to? What was I thinking about? What am I seeing? I actually feel really good right now. Okay, what was I seeing? What am I thinking? See, you're in charge. I want more of the feel good, thank you, less of the feel bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us again today. I really appreciate your time, and I know you are a very busy lady. That's why we have to record these on a weekend, because you are in such high demand all over the country, and you've now decided to go and run on a beach that has a little bit of warmth in the mornings instead of frost. So how are you enjoying the Northern Rivers area of New South Wales at the moment?
I am loving it. But, I was thinking about this morning to tell you, talking about your energetic field. So I came here to escape the grim Scotland-esque Tasmania winter, right? That was the plan. I've gone to a lot of trouble, ladies and gentlemen, to get away from the Scotland grime and the Tasmanian sadness and the dark clouds, right? So I get up here on the 25th of April. I land on the Gold Coast. It's a storm. It's terrible weather. Doesn't matter. It'll be fine. Nearly a month later, I'm still waiting. I think we've had 3 good days the whole time I've been here. So you could go, shit, this sucks, I'm really annoyed, wasted my time. Not at all. I'm still joyful. It's warmer than where I came from. I'm looking at property, looking to buy, connecting with awesome people. I'm off for a lunch right now. Or I could go, this really sucks and what a waste of time. See what I mean? I'm choosing which mode I want to go into, and that is thrilled to be here, happy that this is my journey.
Well, I think you've made an exceptional choice. You won't get icicles hanging off your bits when you go running along the beach where you are, I can tell you.
I hate how your visual always shows up and makes me wonder.
Love you dearly, girl. Thanks very much for coming on, and we will do it again very soon. Now we have set up an email address for Malibu. If you've got a question you'd like to ask her, then please do ask Malibu at vofhq.com. It goes straight to her, and you never know, if you ask a nice, polite question, she might even reply to you personally rather than doing it here on the screen. But we will use them if you've got questions and you will let us. We'll happily talk about you.
Well, one of your lovely people has actually written to me, and we're actually thinking about what we're talking about, this meditation with Rachel. So she's interested.
Wonderful.
That might be really useful. We're going to have a conversation this weekend and see how we can help implement that process, Carl.
Excellent. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes.
Action stations.
You go and enjoy your big day out, and thank you for taking some time out to share your views and thoughts with us today.
Will do. Thanks for having me. See you later.
Well, there you go, folks. That was bloody good chat. Oops, the lovely Malibu. I'll try and find, where the bloody hell? Where am I? There you go. That might help us. The lovely Malibu. Now, what have I shoved up in front of us? This is Palmageddon. As you can see, the crawl across the bottom, we are heading off for lunch this Saturday to catch up with Wapda, the 8-toed master of ceremonies, who will be in charge of the table. He is table captain. He has booked a table at the Sundowner under the name of Voice of Freedom. So if you want to go and put your bum on one of those seats and make sure it has your name on it, then you can, I guess, ring up and say, just stick me down on that table, and they'll keep the table growing as it grows. But I think we'll probably have anywhere from sort of half a dozen to maybe a dozen people turning up. And some of them might be into Parmageddon. So thanks to Greg, he shot this off to me today. If you are into your schnitzels, then your Parmers or your Parmies. What are you, a Parmy or a Parmer? Don't know. But if that's what you're up for, you can have one of those at the Sundowner with us on Saturday. We look forward to seeing you. I know Clayton's coming. There's a half a chance Margie Sedman is going to pop along. There's Greg, of course. There might be a couple of others from around that part of the world. I'm hearing that Alan and Connie might climb upon the big, oh, no, it won't be the motorbike. It'll be the other conveyance, and they might pop along. So it'll be sort of a little bit of a reenactment from the cruise. But with Greg, of course, who wasn't able to make it. So looking forward to seeing you there this weekend, if you can make it. That's Saturday, 12:04 at 12:30. We're going to order lunch about 12:30, say, and hopefully we can all sit down and eat it together. That would be absolutely lovely. Now, a couple of little things that have gone on in the world. Today, this man swam for, Australia. Now, this is young Magnuson. You remember this bloke? He swam for Australia in the Olympics, was very good, and then got out, I want to say probably 10 years ago or more. And these days, he is working his ass off in a new form of Olympics, the steroid Olympics. So these are, or the enhanced games, I think they are preferring to call them at the moment. Now, this has happened in the last 24 hours or so in Las Vegas, where they purpose-built a stadium that had a 50-meter Olympic swimming pool in it, a 400-meter running track around it, and there was a couple of other bits of equipment and whatnot for sporting types, weightlifting, I believe it was, where they could really put steroids to good use, get great big muscles, do all that sort of thing. Now, young Magnuson, James Magnuson, did this a few years ago, and that's what he looked like, 114 kilos of roided up madness. Got in the pool and swam about 3 seconds slower than his best time without using any roids. Not so good. So he's had a change of heart this time round, slimmed down. He's 114 kilos of basically pure muscle back in those days. He's dropped a few kilos of muscle and now has just developed a six-pack that starts under his nipples and stops at his knees. And today he swam the 100-meter, dash I was going to call it, but he swam the 100 meters in the steroid Olympics, the enhanced games, and came fourth. Okay, that mightn't be a bad thing, you'd say, because, in the enhanced games, you're probably still beating the world record. No. There have been no world records broken at all in the advanced games. They've been missing out by a poofteenth of a bee's whisker, but no world records being broken, which sort of leads you to wonder about the benefits of roiding up, doesn't it? They use things like human growth hormone and that sort of stuff to help them develop their muscles, I suppose. And now bigger muscles, you would think, give you better stamina maybe for this sort of stuff. Unfortunately, that also adds weight. So they haven't found the balance yet. I haven't heard whether or not there have been any records in the weightlifting division broken yet, but I look forward to finding that out. Probably in the next 24 hours or so. But certainly for the swimming, there have been no world records broken in the swimming, and there have been no world records broken in the track. So somebody who they thought was going to run faster than Usain Bolt didn't even come close. So the use of roids may not be as good as many people have sort of thought. How's your silver looking? We haven't spoken about silver for a little while because people have been hurting a bit. And I've had private conversations with many folks, but some folks who've joined into buying a bit of silver through the show have discovered that it's a painful up and down experience when you buy at a certain point and then all of a sudden the arse falls out of it and you lose $20 an ounce on what you've bought. Well, you only lose it if you sell, don't you? And hopefully you haven't had to do that, because right now silver is recovering. Now, it's sitting around just around $109 at the moment. It's been down to 102 over the last week or so. But since last Friday, Thursday, Friday, it's been comfortably hovering the 107 to 109 area. Now, I don't give financial advice as such, because I'm not a financial advisor, and you know me and numbers, you'd be mad to take much notice of anything I'd say about that sort of stuff. However, that Asian guy has popped back up on our screens, and thank you to Tony, who sent with this one through to me. The silver jump to $300 is coming. I did hear him say that some months ago, and I've been hearing that jump to $300 now for well over 12 months. And the market certainly looked like it was heading that way. But what we are hearing from the Asian guy, or whatever he's calling himself this time round, is that there is going to be another drop, a drop down to 75 US dollars, which would take us down to about 105 or 103 Australian. Now, we might have just been through that drop. This could be a bit delayed, but there is all sorts of movements happening in that market at the moment. And there have been some great changes at the Fed in the US. Donald Trump's new appointed boss of the Fed has been brought before the Senate, or both houses, I think, committees, to discuss what the plan is for the Fed going forward and the monetary plan for America. That included undertakings or questions from congressmen about what's going to happen with crypto and cryptocurrencies, what's going to happen with CBDCs and the digital financial system. You might be very heartened to know that Donald Trump's new pick as the Fed chair says that that is not in the remit of the Fed. It is not their business, and as far as he's concerned, he will not be pushing forward on any CBDCs, a centralized digital currency, and he will be looking to shore up and strengthen crypto trade going forward. Big words. Donald Trump has been speaking very highly of this bloke going into the Fed, and, the world has been waiting with bated breath for it to happen. Some would say the entire financial system has been waiting with bated breath for it to happen. And I think we are going to see some very big examples of changes in the financial system in the next month or so. So keep that in the back of your mind. Bear in mind that at $109 an ounce, silver is about as low as you are ever going to be able to buy it again, I reckon. Not advice, just my little opinion. It might drop down. It might go down to 105, might go down to 102. I doubt it will go below 100. But I would be, if I had a bit of cash at the moment, I would be potentially buying another coin or two and sticking it away, because the kick is coming. Gold is moving pretty solidly. It's edging up. And, of course, that is the safe haven. Now, why would they be looking for a safe haven, those investors? Well, that's because there is about to be a great deal of news come out of America that is going to rock the financial markets. So Donald Trump is going to be making a speech. In fact, I thought that speech might have come out in the last 24 hours, but I'm told now that it's probably another 2 days away yet. When that speech is made, that will signify the beginning of changes to the global financial system. Those changes will predominantly take place in America initially, but because America is so entwined in the global system, they will naturally have to spread out and go global very, very quickly. So hearing a lot of that is in place and is going to be rolling out from sort of June onwards. So that would put an announcement in line sometime this week. All sorts of interesting announcements coming out. So fingers crossed, we'll wait and see what comes from it. The abundance that we are all wishing and hoping for can come into our lives. We can draw it, as you heard Malibu say tonight. We've just got to be positive of mind. And I know it very, very difficult at times to always be up and vibey, but small chances, small things make big differences. So make a change, a little change once a day, and you never know, by the end of the week, you'll have made 7 changes and your life could be in a whole different space. In Canberra, the space that the politicians' heads are in, because they've just started coming back for the latest sittings, they've been greeted by this billboard and others telling people stories about what's going to happen with the introduction of these new taxes from the latest budget. These billboards, $17,500 worth of them, have been put in place by a young Canberra guy, paid for out of his own money, and he has filled Canberra Airport with them and lined the highway, the billboards to and from Parliament House and the airport with that message. Albanese and Chalmers are starting to waver a little bit on just how good these tax changes are going to be for Australians. Even now, they are being attacked by the very demographic they claim they are doing this for, the young people. So don't be at all surprised to see that it all goes quiet on that front very quickly, and you might even find that they have to drop it because the polls, and you know what we all think about polls, but the polls are indicating that this Labor government has taken the prize for generating the largest stink that any Labor government has ever created in this country. They stand the chance to be significantly attacked, potentially wiped out at the next election. They're in better position than the Liberal Party and the National Party, who on a poll weekend came out with some pretty interesting news. One Nation, if the election was run last weekend or when the poll was taken, a poll of 6,000 people, so it is a reasonable sample audience. Those 6,000 people, 56% of them, no, I beg your pardon, enough of them would have changed their vote to enable One Nation to get 56 seats in the House at the complete expense of the National Party, who wouldn't win a seat, and the Liberal Party, who would only win, predicted, 12 seats. Now, that puts One Nation certainly as the lead coalition partner in any partnership going forward. But if they are at 56 seats now, let's say, and we're 2 years out from a federal election, if One Nation can keep the momentum going, if Corey Bernardi and his team in South Australia can start kicking a few goals for the people there, and if One Nation can ride that tsunami through the heads of Port Phillip Bay and wash in over Melbourne, then Victoria, because I think the regions of Victoria are pretty solidly going to walk away from the National Liberal parties, and they are, I would suggest, en masse going to go to One Nation. That means that the green hell that is inner city Melbourne is the last bastion of strength they're going to have. That and the fact that there are a whole bunch of morons, celebrity morons, should I point out, who are voting Labor. At least now, some of them, one of them at least, is prepared to admit it. Dave Hughes has come out and admitted that he voted for Albanese and Chalmers in the last election. Well, there's one. I can't find anybody else who's brave enough to admit it, but at least there's one. Now, folks, something that is very close to my heart are veterans. You know that. My biological father was a veteran. In fact, he was a Vietnam veteran. And in a past life, we both joined the Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club. Now, they're called the Veterans, or Veterans Australia these days, not the Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club, but Veterans Australia. That is Spooky, you see there wearing the slouch hat. And these guys are looking for some riders, some member support. So if you are in the remotest interested in taking your motorbike for a ride, and I don't suggest for a moment that it has to be a Harley. I don't think that those rules are as strictly adhered to as they once were, maybe. But if you are interested, the details are there. Just get through them on Facebook. This is a Central Queensland catch-up by the look of it, but the Veterans Australia Motorcycle Club is all over this country. And I know from personal experience with my biological father that it helped him a huge amount. It enabled him to hang with blokes, not necessarily that he fought with, but who were over there. And the camaraderie in the club was absolutely amazing. And who knows, my name might still be on a brick down at the Hastings clubhouse, if they still have a clubhouse in Hastings in Victoria. So, but I bought a brick to help build the joint once back in the day. So when I saw that today, I thought I'd share that with you, because the veterans have a very soft spot in my heart. Obviously, I'll do anything I can to support them. And if that is you and you're looking for a bit of camaraderie and you don't mind riding bikes, then the Veterans Australia group are a good bunch of blokes. And ladies too. Ladies are more than happy to join. I'm not involved with them anymore. Haven't been involved for years, but it's good to see that they are trying to get the fellowship back happening again. It's excellent, because at this time, as we all heard tonight with Malibu, we all need a bit of that. So I hope, folks, you've enjoyed that chat tonight. If it is something you would like to do, to get together into a meditation group, I know that Rachel and Malibu have been talking. I know that Tony is busy man, but he likes being involved in these sorts of things too. And I would like to be involved a little bit more. It's just a matter of, I think, learning. For me, at any rate, learning how. It's a matter of being able to sit down and zone out, be comfortable with yourself, learn how to breathe. And I think we could all do with a bit of that. Calm down, do all the right things. I don't think I've got too much left to tell you, other than I believe Black Sheep is on the mainland, or if he's not, he will be very shortly. I think he was leaving Tassie today, so I don't know if that was this morning, last night, or tonight. But we'll expect him on the mainland, and no doubt he will pop up at some stage in the near future, somewhere between New South Wales and Queensland, and then he's coming to Queensland, so no doubt you'll see him here with us. Don't think he'll be here in time for next week, sadly, for the luncheon. I believe he's staying a week or so in Sydney with some mates there. So, but he's on the road. That's all good. And Penny wanted to get a bit of an update on Wade. So I spoke to Wade last week briefly. I think it was Friday I spoke to him. He's feeling well. He's feeling as good as can be expected. There is still undergoing a lot of treatment, undergoing a lot of rehab, and that's essentially how he's spending his days, rehabbing. He is getting to a point where he might be able to go home fairly soon. There are a number of things that have to be modified at the house before he can get home, though. And one of those, I dare say at the moment, might be putting a couple of ramps into different things, and maybe modifying a shower or bathroom or something. So there are some modifications that have to take place before he can safely go back into the house. At least that's what he told me the other day. But he sounds pretty good on the phone. He's very keen to explore a variety of options. And if I'm honest, and I always try to be, part of the reason that we had Alan on last Friday night was to talk about hyperbaric technology. And I know Wade has watched that show. And Wade and I were talking about hyperbaric technology during the day. And I mentioned Alan and had a good chat with him about it prior to coming on the show. And yes, there are, certain medicinal benefits of being involved with hyperbaric therapy. sooner rather than later, as it turns out, with strokes, as well as it is with most things. The sooner you get the treatment on it, the better the outcomes will be. However, that doesn't mean that it's not useful now. And speaking of not useful, I did get, and Alan, you'll love this, I got a very excited phone call from Margie Sedman. I think it was on Saturday morning. It might have been no, I think it was Saturday. She was very excited and very thankful that we had you on for the chat on Friday night about hyperbaric chambers and just how wonderful they can be when it comes to helping you recuperate from surgeries and all this sort of stuff. Margie has had a hell 12 months or so and undergone a number of surgeries, spent 4 months or more in hospital, and now is living an existence at home that is not as active as I'm sure she would like it to be. She's very much into frequency healing. She's given herself every chance and every tool just about to enhance her healing. And she rang and said, "Thank you so much for talking about the hyperbaric chamber. I forgot. I've got one. So I'm going to go and put myself in that." So I've got a feeling that Margie's been in her own hyperbaric chamber, well, since Saturday when we talked, and she'll be coming for lunch with us this weekend too. I've got a funny feeling. I hope Sunflower you can get down. If you can bring Rick, that's great. If you can't bring Rick, I hope you get someone to look after him. And I do trust you are starting to feel better, because you caught the dreaded lurgy, and that's, if memory serves, didn't you get this dreaded lurgy earlier this year or maybe late last year? At any rate, I hope you're recovering from that. We're getting you seen, and Life, the Universe, and everything is good. And to at In Demand, I don't understand. Are you calling me a pussy? I'm confused. But thank you for your comment. It's always nice to have you as part of it. All right. Well, folks. You can't come? Oh, that's disappointing. Sorry about that, but bugger. That would be Sunflower. I'll just flick back to your chat. Sunflower won't be there, but you never know who else might. Big Clayton Bear's coming, and I'll be there to, well, tell a joke or two. We'll see how it all goes. I've kept you long enough tonight, folks. It's a Monday night, and here I am still prattling along. I would hope that you have a very happy evening, and Life, the Universe, and everything for this week brings you abundance, warmth, care, joy, and all the love of the world. And no dickheads. Good luck.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!